The reason that they're, goodness sakes, the reason that they're timed is because they are very much like the praxis. And so you need to be able to take them within the time limit. I am having a horrible time tonight. Okay, I got it back. Okay, then the next thing that you need to do is you're going to write the draft of the IEP, and you're not going to do the whole thing, so don't panic, because we're going to do it in chunks. It's kind of like, you know, you can eat an elephant, a whole elephant, if you do it just one bite at a time. That's kind of the way we're going to look at IEPs. We're going to do it one chunk at a time, so you don't have to panic. And because you're not all in Kansas, I did not, my original intent was to go to the State Department and get a hold of the WebKids IEP system that the state uses. But you're not all in Kansas, so it wouldn't do you any good. So there's a mock-up that's very similar to the WebKids that you're going to use to write into the IEP. So you're going to select a student from the IEP assignment, and you're going to do the student information on it, and then you're going to do the present levels of academic achievement and performance. That's the part that you're going to do first, because that's the basis of the whole IEP. You look at what can the student do in comparison to where their peers are. And you need to have that comparison in there. Like if you say he reads at the 5th grade, well, that doesn't tell me very much, because I don't know if he's an 8th grader or a 10th grader, and I don't know if when I say he reads at 5th grade, is it comprehension that's low? Is it his reading fluency that's low? Is it, you know, do a gap analysis? So you're going to look at all those kinds of things to figure out what needs to go in the present levels of performance. So to get to it, you're going to go to the assignments tab. I don't know if you can do it while we're on here or not. And then you go to the assignment, the IEP assignment downloads, and it says case studies and rubrics. And your first draft is due September the 9th of the present levels of academic achievement and performance. So that's a week or so, all right? And then the goals we're going to write when we do module 2. So you're not going to write goals down, you're just going to do the actual, what's the kiddo capable of doing right now. Okay? Makes sense to everybody? Got that part? Okay, I will close my notes down and see if I can get back to sharing the screen. You know, I really don't like it when I can't see you guys. When I share my screen, I lose all touch with, it's like I'm talking to an empty room. I don't know what, so if you have something to say, use your microphones, please, okay? Okay, so we're going to talk about high leverage practices today. High leverage practices, and that a lot of times you'll see abbreviated HLPs. They've been developed for about 8 or 10 years, and then most of them came out of the University of Missouri Teacher Education Program, and they're the ones that created the What Teaching Works website is, and it's really good. So if you need some ideas, look at the Teaching Works website. They have got some tremendous materials to use. The original people there were like Deborah Ball, Pam Grossman. So do any of you know what high leverage practices are? Have you talked about them, used them anywhere? There's some examples that they use in general education, like just the regular ed classes, like group discussions, explaining and modeling content, their practices and their strategies, and how you implement organizational routine. A lot of the students, high incidence students, like the learning disabled students, have trouble, especially with organizational skills. So implementing a strategy or organization in your classroom so that everything is routine, it's the same way all the time, it helps organize kids. So the bottom line is high leverage practices are things that you're going to use every day because it has the greatest impact on student achievement and student outcomes. So if I'm not going to read the slide to you, you can read the slide. But the thing to remember is that no matter how the student learns, it's going to advance all of the students, and it makes you a better teacher. So look at the teaching work site. It's really got a lot of good information in it. High leverage practices for special ed is pretty new. We haven't done it very long. We've kind of taken it from the special education teachers thought that the practices that they did in the general education setting that were high leverage would also work effectively with special education students, and that's not necessarily the case because it's not individualized enough. So the Cedar Center at the University of Florida is where it really got started for special education. And they work really well because you're targeting different issues with special education students. Based on what you've learned so far about diverse and exceptional learners in your classes, you know that students with exceptionalities have a combination of needs. Like it could be academic, it could be behavioral, it could be social, it could be all three. And so what we're looking at is the severity that for some could be a challenge, for others it's something easy. So they're all different. A lot of the kids that are high incidence as far as learning disabilities go are poor readers but are really good in math. Or some of the kids that have high functioning autism have wonderful memories and can do all kinds of math computation in their head, and they read really well. But their social skills are needing developed. And then you need to look at also, there's cultural and linguistically diverse students within our classrooms, within the kids that we're working with on our caseloads. So general ed high leverage practices are good, and they should stay there and for all the students. But, you know, we need to do what's best for our kids. So in this course, we're going to talk about 22 high leverage practices that are identified, and there's an attachment on when you start reading about the high leverage practices that you need to read. It's a handbook. Tells you what high leverage practices are, and it describes how they're identified. We're going to talk about 3 practices for collaboration and 3 for assessment, and then we're going to talk about 4 that for social, emotional, behavior practices, and 12 practices for instruction. So there's 22 of them altogether, but we're going to specifically talk about 4 from instruction. 2 of them you're going to learn about your course reading, and you're going to talk about, they're on the quizzes and they're in the discussion board. And then 2 are from the assessment, from the IEP and from the instructional plans. Okay, so we're going to introduce the high leverage practices. For students who need high intensity instruction, you can't waste any time. They're already behind it. Some of you said that you teach in the high school or you teach in the middle school. Those kids are already behind by sometimes 3 to 4 years in different academic areas, and it's so hard for them. They can't catch up. A typical student makes a year's growth in a year. That's why grade equivalents are based on 9 months. It might say 5.9. That means the 9th month of the 5th grade. That's where the kiddos should be at the end of their 5th grade year in May. So the special ed kids haven't made that kind of academic achievement, they haven't gotten that far. They're not making a year's growth in a year, so we have got to focus on what works best and what is going to help them get caught up so that they can survive in the world after they leave high school or whatever post-secondary options they choose. So we don't have time to waste, and we also don't have time to waste for gifted kids because we're going to lose them because we're not challenging them. Let me look at my notes a little bit here. Okay, so what's intensive instruction? So you're going to match the intensity of the instruction to the intensity of the student. So you're going to use flexible grouping, and it's based on student needs. And if they're missing a skill, like they don't know the silent E that comes at the end of a word in phonics, you put the kids together that don't know that skill and you do a unit of instruction on it. You work with groups on high priority, where they have clearly defined skills. And it's things that are really important to their success. The instruction that you use is systematic, it's explicit, and it's well-paced, meaning you go as fast as the students can go and still master the concept. And you monitor progress frequently. And on IEPs, for those of you that are working with students with IEPs, you know that you have to do progress monitoring every 3 weeks. When you're talking about high leverage practices, you're probably going to do progress checks every week. So it's even more frequent because you're not going to waste 3 weeks of time to find out something's not working. And it may be a very informal assessment that you're using to monitor the progress, but you're still going to monitor it very often. When you're doing that progress monitoring, you know that you need to make adjustments because of that progress monitoring. If at the end of the first week the students make no progress, that system is probably not going to work for them, that practice. You need to switch to something else immediately. So you're going to adjust what you're doing. And you're going to give feedback to the kiddos. They need to know that their efforts are paying off, that they're doing a good job, that they're learning, that you can see progress, and so that they can see their own progress. And then practice and practice and practice some more for their success, and then you're going to move on to the next thing. How many of you ever played online games? Like, I'm thinking of Madden right now after the thing in Jacksonville, Florida yesterday. That's not even online, that's a game you buy, I think, right? But if you've ever played online games, you know how, like, did you ever do Mario Brothers? You know how you have to succeed at one level before you can go up to the next level, and when you master that level, you go, well, that's essentially what special education teachers are doing with students. We are looking at the levels that they're at, and we're taking them up to the next level. When they master that, we take them up to the next level. So we're kind of like game designers, because we are designing those level jumps by the instruction that we use. So when you think about playing those games, you had to take a risk. Sometimes you didn't do well and you failed, and you learned from failing what you needed to do differently the next time you played the game. And sometimes the games gave you hints or ideas, which is positive feedback or constructive feedback, and so that you knew how to do it better and better. That's what we're doing as special education teachers, is we're taking kids to the next level and the next level and the next level. So why do we give feedback? We give feedback because it increases motivation. If you taught for a full year and an administrator never did a walkthrough on you, or never did an evaluation on you, or never made a comment about your teaching, how would you know that you're doing a good job? If nobody ever gave you any feedback, would it be tough to know? Well, kids are the same. They need to know what they're doing, and they need to know what they're doing well, and they need to know to keep it up and to keep trying even harder. So the feedback that we give kids has to be very, very meaningful. An off-the-cuff, nice job, or this is really better than you did last time, I'm impressed. It can be a pat on the back. You know, when one of the kids got something done that we were working on that had been really hard, I mean, just reach over and pat them on the back and say, way to go. I can write a note on an assignment or, that they've done so that they know that keep it up. This is the way it's going. Because you're constantly looking at that goal of where you want them to be, and you're constantly pushing towards that goal. Are there any questions yet? Concerns? Okay, we're going to keep going then. Long and short-term goals. Intuitive, kind of, sort of. You know where you want to be with kiddo at the end of the week. Do you know where you want to be a year from now with them? That's part of an IEP. The short-term goals are the things that you're going to look at for, excuse me, for like a 9 weeks period or half a year. But the long-term goals, because IEPs run for 1 full calendar year, so your long-term goals run that full calendar year. So when you're looking at what skills students are missing and what they need, you're looking at the long term. Where do they need to be a year from now? And it's got to be linked to their academic achievement and their functional performance. So we're going to provide kids with meaningful access to success to get back into the general curriculum. With gifted kids, we're going to look at enriching and igniting what they already know and pushing them to deeper, broader knowledge. Okay, so the IEP that you're going to develop, because this is part of the assignment, is going to be to write a very thorough presence level of academic achievement and functional performance. And because that's the foundation for the whole IEP. That's the most important part. That tells you why the student needs to be in special education in the first place. One of the things you have to remember is an IEP is a legal document, and we are bound by it. We are, as are the parents. Once it's been signed, it's like law. It has to be done. So the students' long-term and short-term goals, which are going to be on their IEP, have been agreed to and signed off by the parents, by the IEP team members, and by the administration. And just because the teacher changes, like say this year they're in history, next year they go to government instead, it's still a social science. Whatever's on that IEP is still binding. It's still what we have to do. We don't have a choice until we meet and rewrite the IEP or have an amendment and change it. So, questions? Yes, ma'am.
In our assignment where it has the IEP meeting date and the implementation date, it's my understanding that those are the same. Is that correct?
They don't have to be. Typically they are, yes. Can everybody hear her question? Could you all hear? She asked if the implementation date and the IEP date are the same. And usually they are, but I'm thinking more of a high school student right now. Let's say that this is March and we're writing his IEP, so that's the IEP day is whatever day in March we're meeting and we're writing the IEP. But in August, he's going to participate in work experience, and he's not done that through this year, but he's going to start in August. So his implementation date for that particular service may not start until March. Does that make sense to you? Okay. So typically, yeah, IEP dates and implementation dates are the same, but there are exceptions depending on the student. And not all services will start or end on the same date. Okay? It just depends on what services they're getting. Okay, so do you have questions about the assignment that you're supposed to do in the next 2 weeks? You know that you've got 2 quizzes to do that are very much like praxis questions. They're timed at 30 minutes, so make sure you're really ready for them before you go in there, because you can only take the quizzes once. Okay? And then you're going to write the present levels performance section.
On the quizzes, what format are those going to be in? Are they multiple choice? Are they short answer, combination?
I did not write them. and I have not seen them. How's that?
Okay, thank you.
They were written by somebody who had access to the praxis, and we were using them. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry. I would think that they are multiple choice because you can't write too much in 30 minutes. So my gut reaction is that they're multiple choice. Okay. And also because the computer grades them, and the computer can't grade an essay question. They may have some short fill in the blank. Okay. But there's nothing that's a long essay to write. Any other questions?
I just have one more about the IEP assignment.
Mm-hmm.
So I noticed on there you have, am I echoing you?
You're fine, go ahead.
Okay. Where it has the current academic achievement and functional performance, and then later on they have the general intelligence. Do we need to include the IQ testing in that section also, or just in the general intelligence?
Just in the general intelligence.
Okay.
Sometimes people will include something like a statement that says, because his IQ is within the normal range, or because his intelligence is within the normal range, one would expect that he would be able to achieve whatever it is compared to his peers.
Okay.
And then, but its functional level is at instead.
Okay.
Okay, because that gives you that peer comparison thing again.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, there are case studies for elementary, middle, and high school. And you're going to pick one that's I do not care which area you pick. It would make sense to pick the area that you're teaching. One of the things that is not in the syllabus and is not on the schedule that I would like for you to do when we get to writing goals is you have to write 3 literacy goals. I'd like you to consider the student that you're working with, and I'd like you to write a goal for elementary, middle school, and high school. Because your teaching license that you're going to come up with when you get done with this program is a K-12 license. And even though your experience may all be secondary, if you have a little bit of experience writing a literacy goal for a younger student, it's going to make you more comfortable to take different job challenges. Okay, but that's not this week, that's in a couple of weeks yet. Okay, but I think it would better prepare you for life later on. Okay, any questions from anybody for right now? Okay, once the IEP is developed, then you get to implement it, which means you're going to start that high leverage practice and you're going to put it into effect with the kids. So how do you go about systematically designing instruction? Well, you order your lessons so that they build on top of each other. You don't start with the most complicated first. You take the small. This is what coaches are excellent at doing. Think about a coach for just a minute in a football game. And I don't know squat about football except watching it. But they watch video from the other team, and during the week then they coach their team so that they know how to counter the plays of the other team. So they task analyze what the other team is doing, and then they put that into effect with their team to counter it. So what you're going to do is you're going to sequence your lessons that build on each other. So you're going to task analyze. You're going to start with the most basic parts. They also call it scaffolding instruction. Have you heard, is that a familiar term? So you're going to start with the most basic part, and you're going to build on it every lesson. You're going to add another step as soon as the student's ready for it. You're going to make connections that are explicit. Excuse me. You're going to use the student's prior knowledge. And you're going to say, well, you know that slope is important because you can't find the pitch of a roof if you don't know the slope. And so we have to be able to find, we're going to build a house, so we've got to be able to find the pitch of the roof. And you've helped your dad do that. So you've watched construction, or you helped build the doghouse in 4-H. So you tie it to something that they know, and you show them how it fits together with the new stuff that they're going to learn. The only thing that I have never in my life been able to connect with prior knowledge is diagramming sentences. How many of you had to diagram sentences when you were in English in high school or grade school or whenever? I have never, you know, I understand the purpose of it, but try to tell a kid that they're going to use that sometime in their life. No, they're not unless they're an English teacher. And they quit doing it now. Anyway, tie it to something that they know that's practical, that's real life, that makes sense to them. Because if they can see the value in it, then they're going to pay more attention to it, and it will help them remember how to use it. So, and you've got to watch your time. You've got to make sure that you give enough time for the students to understand the concept. You cannot teach a lesson a day, necessarily. You know, like the math books are designed so that average students can pick up chapter 1, lesson 1 today, chapter 1, lesson 2 tomorrow, and they keep going, and then they take a test at the end of the chapter. Our kids can't do that. They need more explicit instruction, they need more practice, they need more review, they need it presented in different words and different ways. But keep them moving forward and keep adding to what they know. And so pacing is really important. And I know on here it says go, 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 but you're only going to go as fast as the student can go, because covering material is not the same as learning the material. They have got to learn it in order to be ready to accept the next chunk of it. And you can say, I taught that. Well, you might have taught that, but did they learn that? There's a difference. So you want to get to that learning side of it. Did they learn it? Did they understand it? And can they use it? So you're going to look for the evidence-based practices that are effective for kids like the ones that you're working with. Okay, so then later we're going to do instructional plans. We're going to talk about literacy, which is reading based, and we're going to do math and content areas. And that's the next part of the lesson. And that's later on. That's not in the first module. So just so you know where you're going. Okay? Okay, do you have any questions for me? Anybody? Are you comfortable with what your assignments are and where you're going with it? Okay, you have my email address. If you get hung up on something, I am here to answer questions. And it's, you know, if 2 or 3 people ask the same question, obviously I didn't explain it very well, so I'll put it in the announcement. And I'll send you, like, you got an announcement for tonight's meeting, correct? You got an email from Blackboard on your Fort Hays. Check your Fort Hays email, because every time I post an announcement in Blackboard, it sends you a copy of the announcement in your Fort Hays email. And that's the only email I have access to. I don't have any other emails for you. So have you all been checking those?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. So the people that went to the Zoom link, that was on the Blackboard, should have used the one that they got in their email. And I'll make a note about that today and try to get that Zoom link off of there. Okay, do you have any questions about the class so far, what you're expected to do? Do you have any questions about the program in general that I may or may not be able to answer? Okay, then you're on your own for another, and we won't do another Zoom session until we're ready for module 2. Okay, and if it's when, I think it is when it falls when I'm going to Washington, D.C. for a conference. And if it does, I'll just do the recording of the session and post it, and then you can email questions if you have any. Okay. Do you know people in your class to have study buddies with? No, make some connections with some people. It'll help you. study buddies are the best way to get through a program. For one thing, if you get stuck, you've got somebody to turn to. For another thing, if you get frustrated with an instructor, you've got somebody to blow some steam off with before you talk to the instructor. Okay, that happens, it's part of life, I know that. Or maybe you interpreted a lesson to be one way and somebody interpreted it to be differently. So go back and look through the discussion post that everybody put this week, and find somebody that's got something that has a similar interest that you do or a similar grade level, and start making connections with them. Because do you know that you can email your classmate? Do you know how to do that in Blackboard? Okay, if you go into Blackboard, you can go down. I have a different view than you do. Just a minute, let me see if I can get to it. Okay. Just 1 second. Let me see if I can get to it. And I'll show you if I can. Can you see my Blackboard screen? Okay, if you go down to Course Tools, I believe, and I could be wrong because I haven't done this for a long time. I thought there was an email thing on here.
It's over on the right.
Did you see it and I missed it?
Yeah, just scroll down.
There. You can, if you click all users, everybody in the class pops up, and then you can just take out the ones you don't want. Okay? So connect with somebody in the class so that you've got a study buddy. It will help. It just makes life easier. And that also gives you that connection so that when you get ready to start studying for your practice, you've got somebody else that's there with you. It makes a difference. If you have time to do it, if you have time to reach out, connect, do it, okay? Okay, any questions, any concerns before we go? Then I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Actually, I have one question in regards to the quizzes.
Okay, go ahead.
Are you graded on how many you get right or wrong, or are you just graded on your participation in the quizzes?
You get a percentage of what you get right.
Okay, so if I've already taken both or all 3 praxis tests and passed them, then those questions are basically off of those tests, right?
They're similar.
Okay.
Yeah. They're
And it's is it the mild to moderate or moderate to severe?
mild to moderate.
Okay, perfect.
They're really going to cover all high incidence levels.
Okay.
Okay, because that's what this course is about, or the whole program is high incident. So that's what they're going to focus on. But it's just for people. It's for a grade because it's based on the readings that you're doing. So the content of the idea of them comes out of the readings that you've been assigned for the different modules. So for quizzes 1 and 2, it's going to come out of all of the readings that you do this week and next week. So it will come from information from there. But
Okay.
But they're formed like a praxis question.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I was just curious because of, if you had to go out and look through the entire Praxis book again,
No.
even though those things, but if it comes from the reading, then that's fine. It's probably the similar.
Comes from the reading materials that you're doing for the module.
Okay.
Okay. And this is the first time I have taught this class, so I went in and I read all those things that you're going to have to read. Some of them are drier than others. The KSDE stuff is pretty dry. I can say that because Shelley used to work for the State Department, so that's the reason I'm saying it, just so she can enjoy it. But the one on Asperger's, that's a different class, sorry. But anyway, they're pretty interesting. I got some, even as old as I am, I taught special ed for 42 years. Even with all of that background, I still picked up some tidbits that maybe I hadn't heard or I'd forgotten. So it's definitely worth reading. Some of it you can kind of skim through the State Department stuff, like the policy manual, just, read it. I would download them and highlight them so that you've got the important stuff of it at your fingertips, or take notes on it or whatever. Okay. I don't think there's any way I could monitor whether you do or do not use your notes to take your tests, your quizzes, except the fact that they're timed. So if you're well prepared and you need to look up one answer, you at least have time to do that. Okay. And I'm not saying that's cheating. I'm just saying use your time wisely. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, I'll see you in a couple of weeks, all right? Thanks for being here, and I will post this tomorrow, or it takes it a long time to convert it so that it can be posted. Last time I posted it as a YouTube video. Was that okay for everybody? Did anybody watch it?
I did.
Did it help? I mean,
It did.
Okay, so did the YouTube video work?
Yep.
Is that a good method to do?
Yep.
Okay, I will do it again that same way. All right?
Quick question. Somebody wrote in the chat that they were having issues uploading the PowerPoint from last week, and they were asking if you could send it by email. I just wanted to throw that out there in case you didn't see that chat message.
I didn't see the chat message. My screen share is over here somewhere. I have a screen and a monitor, and I'm not sure I've got this whole thing mastered. But I will, can you tell me the name?
It was from Rick Wright.
Is it R-I-C-K?
R-I-C.
Yep, I can email it to him. Last week's PowerPoint?
Yes, that's what I believe so.
When I have your video screens up so that I can see you guys, I lose my chat window. And I don't know why, but I am. So anyway. Okay, so I will see you guys all next week. No, I think it's 2 weeks. I think the next one is, I don't remember. Is anybody else? It's the beginning of module 2. It's week.
What, is that the 10th?
Pardon?
This is due the 9th, and so it's probably the 10th.
I think.
Yeah, I just checked your schedule. It says the 10th.
Okay, so I'll probably see you the 10th. And that may be the one that I may have to post a video on, because I'm not sure I'll be able to do a session. But anyway, I will send it out an announcement. And if you have questions, be sure to email me and let me know, please. Okay? Okay, I will see you all late. Oh, wait a minute. Now I got my chat back. Somebody, is that really an uncut sheet of dollar bills? Yes, it really is. At the bank, you can get uncut sheets of dollar bills. They cost, I don't know, however many is in there. That's how much they cost. You have to order them. But for people that have everything, I gave it to my dad one year for Christmas, I think. And then when he passed, I got it back. So it really is an uncut sheet of dollar bills. So it's worth probably $30. I don't know. Not very much. Anyway, I think it's kind of cool. So, okay. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate your attendance very much. And I'll get everything posted. And if you need any help, let me know. That's what I'm here for. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, I'll see you guys later.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good night.